I'm Realtor Deb Tomorrow, and this is At Home in Bloomington, brought to you by Karen Russell, Ruoff Home Mortgage. We profile the people, places, and resources that make Bloomington, Bloomington, and help you live your best life. At Home in Bloomington. Hello, and welcome to another episode of At Home in Bloomington. I'm Realtor Deb Tomorrow, and joined, as always, by the lovely Miss Karen Russell, best damn lender in the state of Indiana. Hello.
Hello.
Karen's got a cute new haircut. I know you can't see it, but I want to shout out to it. It's cute.
I know. I was a little nervous this morning waking up. Day after a new haircut.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
I was like, what do I do? But yeah. Different.
And this is why we podcast.
This is why we podcast.
and we don't YouTube.
And what does my coworker Mark say? Are you vlogging today?
Blogging. We're not blogging.
Blogging, yeah.
We're not, no. Yeah. I don't think Mark knows the word blogging, bless his heart, but
no,
we are
doing
podcasting. I know. People say you should record it in video or whatever.
I think people will get a kick out of seeing what's happening, but
gosh, the pressure.
It is lots of pressure.
I did put lipstick on for no reason whatsoever, but oh boy. All right. So we're just coming back from the holidays. We are recording this in early January of 2020. And so I'm not going to make this tough on you. Usually we try to kind of quiz you.
I appreciate
and
that.
make you guess who our guest is. But I figure I'm going to go easy for the holidays. So this is something that I don't think, I could be completely wrong, but I don't think you've ever heard of, would be my guess. We've never had a conversation about it.
Okay.
It's not really a location that you drive by, like, the Wiley House, where it's like, what is that building up there on 2nd Street?
Right.
So it's not like that.
Okay.
It's nothing you drink, which we seem to be doing a lot of this year with the wineries and whatnot. But there's an event each month out at the American Legion. That's why I was pumping you with questions the other day.
I wondered why you were asking me questions about the Legion or the VFW or whatever. But
you have a little bit of a background with the Legion and VFW and that sort of thing with your dad.
Yes.
Okay. But this isn't about bingo.
Okay.
So it really has nothing to do with the questions I was asking you. I was just trying to see if there was a deeper connection with the Legion that I could play into, but there wasn't. So, I mean, I think there is bingo at the Legion, but that's not what this is about.
Okay.
So there is, yes, there is.
Now, the Legion... We actually had our Cub Scout meetings in the basement of the Legion for years. Okay. When I was the den mother for my son.
We've talked about that before.
Yes, we have. So, but anyways, okay.
I actually went to a wedding at the Legion.
Yeah?
With Tim and Emily Davis.
Oh, okay.
Ed Schwartzman officiated. It was an interesting wedding.
I didn't even know Ed could officiate weddings.
I think he got whatever.
Okay.
Anyways, all right. So we're going to focus.
The Legion.
Legion. So once a month there is an event at the Legion. The best part of it, it's free.
That's always the best part of anything.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's called the Monroe County History Club.
You're right. Never heard of it.
Well, today we're going to welcome Mike Carter. And do you have a title, or are you just sort of, Prince of the History Club?
That's a good word.
Yeah.
Prince.
Yeah. I mean, we can make you king.
I can say king.
Okay. Godfather. I named Jeff Meese of One World. I said he's a godfather of the pizza scene. I've named it, so it is such. So tell us a little bit about what the History Club is, and then we'll talk about how it came to be.
Yeah, the History Club, it's called Monroe County History Club for a reason, because it's about local history, almost totally. We do a few things outside the area, but not much. And we have, of course, Bloomington with Indiana University has a wealth of talent. We have a lot of retired professors. We've had some fairly well-known people like Bob Hamill talk about things that are going on locally and have gone on locally for the last almost 200 years.
Yeah.
We jump around to different things because when I first started this, I thought we'll run out of ideas.
Yeah.
But
that's what I thought about this podcast. And so how many are you up to?
54? The ones on YouTube are about 55, I think.
So there's about 55.
Going back to 2015.
Wow. But you go back even further than that.
We go back further because I didn't get the idea for Cats TV. It took me a while to get that.
Cats
I wish I thought of it first.
Yeah. So it's a monthly meeting.
Yeah, the last Tuesday of each month. Okay. Usually.
Okay.
You probably saw I had to change the December one because of the holidays.
Yeah.
To the December 17th. And occasionally, if it's a month with 5 Tuesdays, which there are several, we may throw one in the middle.
Oh, nice.
To give people a bonus program every once in a while.
And so people just show up at the Legion?
Yes, it's if you've been to the Legion, it's free parking. There's no dues, no fees. They don't have to belong to anything.
Yeah.
You can just walk in.
Literally.
The only thing they pay for is the lunch at the Legion, which is really good, by the way.
Yeah.
Reasonably priced. I think a lot of people come there for that.
Probably. And you don't have to have lunch, but it was there, and it is, yeah.
People do. And we'll have crowds. The largest one we've had is about 120.
That was probably the one I was at.
That was close. That was very close to
Thanksgiving?
Very close to the record. And we average around 90 probably.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's
so
awesome.
I went to one a couple months ago, and it was kind of, I had been watching and following because you've got a great Facebook page that talks about all the events and there's lots of interaction. And a good friend of mine, Derek Ritchie, was going to be the presenter that in November. And it was also, do you remember the title of that one?
It was The Dark Side of Monroe County.
Dark Side. You would have loved it.
Murders, scandals, and something else.
Something. It was like,
I know, for my twisted mind, like those are the things that I'm just so intrigued
I know. It makes
by.
me think of our friend Sandra because she likes that sort of thing too. But like there was a story about, I'm not going to go all the details, but like there was a story about a guy who basically blew up his family.
So I need to
on
check
the like
out
West 6th or 7th Street.
I need to check out the YouTube video.
For sure. Right.
Okay.
So Derek was telling all of these stories. It was super intriguing. But what was really cool about it, I walked in and, you know, I've been to the Legion before, but I'd never been to one of these meetings. And first thing in the hallway, I see my friend Matt Doring, who's a past guest of the show. And I was like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I'm a history nerd. Who thought? And, you know, I was it's like, he was a secret history nerd. And then, so he and I were walking in together and he already had a seat and ordered his lunch. But I look over and I see another one of my clients, Ann Dial, who is like my #1 fan. I adore her. And so she was there. And so I was like, Ann. And then I looked down the table and Dan and Carol Foster, who are a couple other clients of mine, I'm like, everybody's here. And like, nobody's talking about it, but everybody's going.
You're like the last one to know about. Well, I'm usually the last.
You're the
one.
last.
I'm the last.
But that's right. So anyways, it was really cool. Is I got there a little bit too late for lunch, which was fine. But, you know, I just went in, sat down and listened, and it was a great respite in the middle of the day.
Probably 7.
Has he?
He's been right up there with another couple of guys.
Yeah.
We just keep going back to him. In fact, I've got him scheduled for the spring too. He's going to do another one.
He's always got something.
He's an amazing speaker.
Yeah,
really
for sure. So I'm hoping that we might have Derek on the show at some point. Do you know Derek?
I do not.
So you won't know him when he walks in. Okay, that's good. Derek and I went to high school together for a year.
You did?
Yeah, in Indianapolis, actually. We go way back. But we didn't really know each other in high school, but I always tell people that, like, we were at high school.
Which high school was that?
Lawrence Central.
Yeah, he told me that.
Yep.
We've known each other since 2013. I think.
Okay.
Before.
Awesome. Okay, so how did the History Club start?
Well, this is what I could call this thing the accidental club, to tell you the truth. It started basically because of Facebook, in a way, because of the group I Remember Bloomington. Mm-hmm. When it first started, which was around 2011, people started contributing things on there, and I was one of them, and then a few other people were too. And then you start exchanging ideas with each other. Mm-hmm. And then Derek had a book out, Bloomington Then and Now. He had a book signing, and several of us met each other. Yeah. And then Skip Chambers and I met for the first time, and I said, well, you know, this was the library. I met Skip at the library. We looked at a few things, talked about a few things. He said, let's have a meeting next month. Maybe some other people would like to come here. And so we started off our first meeting, which was like February 2013, at a basement thing in the room in the library. Yeah. There were 6 people there.
Oh, my gosh.
And all we did was exchange newspaper clippings and talked, and it was it, a couple hours. Yeah. And then we thought, well, what are we going to do now? So we decided, I think it was Shelby Kaiser, who's in the auxiliary at the Legion. So why don't you come to the Legion? They got all kinds of rooms you could do it. So the next time, we went to the Legion. And that's when we started doing the last Tuesday of every month. Just because that first program, just by random, was on the last Tuesday of February. So like our next meeting had maybe 10 people. Mm-hmm. We were in a little blue room. When you first come in, it's on the left. Mm-hmm. It's the smallest room they got. Yeah. And then it grew to maybe 12 people, 18 people. And then Shelby, I think it was, after about just a few months, said, Mike, this is great. We all get together and talk, but should we have an itinerary? Mm-hmm. And I thought, itinerary? What's that? Yeah, right. What are you talking about? She says, a speaker. That would be nice. I said, wow, that means I'd have to think about that.
Plan and organize.
But at the time, Skip was doing this with me. Okay. Since his job has changed, he can't be with me on that. Okay. But he was right there with me. We both ran it for quite a while. Okay. But then we had our first few speakers in the blue room. Then we graduated to the next room, the second biggest room. And things started changing a little bit when we had our first PowerPoint thing. And it was George Carpenter. It was on the Monon Railroad.
Okay.
And it was fantastic. We had like 24 people there. But that was the first one where they actually see something on a screen and talk about it. And then, so then we're probably up to 2014. Then it just kept growing a little bit. And then we had one speaker, and I can't think of her name right now. She said, well, she used to work at the library. She said, you ought to get Catch TVs to televise it, record them.
Right.
And I said, wow, I never saw that. So I went down to ask them, and by golly, they did it.
Yeah.
So in November of 2015, we had our first YouTube.
Okay. So it's on Cats, and then it's also then
and that was
on YouTube.
About Bill Cook and his works. Jim Murphy, CEO down there, gave the first one. It was a great program.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then it just really, there was probably 60 people, and it just took off.
Right.
And it's just had a life of its own.
That's amazing.
So we started out just working together, but it basically just accidentally fell on me because Skip had to do other things.
Right.
It's like you took that virtual Facebook group,
Oh,
I love that.
and then made it into a reality.
Face to face.
A true, yeah.
No, but I mean,
a true face to face.
That's, we always hear people complaining all the time about how Facebook has taken away, it's supposed to be social media, but it's taken away a level of
that human interaction.
Yeah, the human interaction. So I love that idea that you can kind of do both. And,
well, Facebook, has its bad parts.
It does.
I explained to my friends that some of them hate Facebook. I said, look, if it wasn't for Facebook, this wouldn't even exist.
Right.
This group would not.
That's
I mean, there
amazing.
might be 5 or 6 people, but it wouldn't be anything like this because that gets the word out.
Right.
People see it and they get interested.
Yep. And it's enabling organizations like yours to function without funds.
That's right.
You can advertise and that sort of thing.
The first things I decided was we don't pay anybody.
Yeah.
We don't get paid.
Yeah.
No money changes hands.
Yeah.
And to their credit, no speaker has asked for money, but a lot of them do get paid.
Yeah, honorariums.
For other places, but if they did, I'd say, well, we can't do it.
Right.
We have to get a treasurer.
Right.
Yeah.
501(c)(3) status.
Yeah, you already. Yeah, you had to do an itinerary, and
you're pushing it with that, right?
There you go.
So, what is your background? Have you always been a history buff, or how have you fallen into that?
I was always interested in history. I was a pharmacist.
Okay.
For 45 years, and I retired June 2012. So
okay.
See, that's not too.
So you were looking for something to do.
and so that's not too far before we started this.
Yeah.
And then I started hanging out at the library more and looking up stuff because I'd always been interested in local history.
And you grew up here, right?
Yeah, I'm a townie.
Okay.
I was born and raised here. Went to the old Bloomington High School that burned. Have you heard of that one?
Yep.
It's down there on 2nd and Walnut.
Yeah.
All that's left of it is the park.
Yeah.
That's it.
I think
that was our front yard.
Yeah.
The building's all gone.
Yeah.
But that's where I graduated from.
And you grew up near downtown, I think.
Yeah, West 2nd Street.
Yeah.
Our driveway is where the hospital exit driveway is.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
So our house is where the parking garage is.
Okay.
That's where we were. And that was a large neighborhood, and I grew up there in the 50s.
Okay.
And then sadly, it all got bulldozed about 1962 for the hospital, and now they're moving again.
I know.
So anyway, it was a great place to grow up.
Yeah.
That park across the street looks basically now what it looked like 60 years ago, except there in that day, most families lived in Bloomington, so there would be hundreds of kids.
Oh, always. Yeah, now there's like one or two kids running around there.
There were hundreds of kids. Everybody walked to school.
Yeah.
Or most people did. The grade school I went to was Hunter, which is still there on top of the hill. Now it's the university the hospital runs a Coumadin clinic and a diabetic clinic.
Oh, okay.
But the building's still there.
I didn't know
so
that.
I could walk about 2 minutes there, and then high school started.
Yeah, that was really close.
The old VHS was within walking distance too. So.
I love the Bloomington. The pages. Remind me. Do you remember? Is that what is the original Facebook page?
I remember Bloomington.
I remember Bloomington.
Well, we remember Bloomington way back.
Yeah. And that's a really fun one to watch too. Just because you see pictures.
It has like 11,000
That's amazing.
people that contribute to it.
they'll show pictures of Bloomington from back when, or they'll try and identify. There was someone last week who had a picture from, I think it was, maybe I could be making this up, Smithville School, like a senior class or junior class or something. And he or she had done the research on all the people in the picture except one, and was trying to figure out who this person was and what became of her. It was their father's graduating class or something
and
like that.
The guy that asked that is actually, to me, that's the guy, I go to him.
Oh, do you?
To ask questions.
Yeah.
He knows. It's amazing what he can find out. So that page is also kind of a research tool.
It's a huge archive. Yeah.
It's for reminiscing, but it's also for digging up stuff like he's looking for. Facts and people.
That's awesome. My hometown, I feel like someone just started it because I started seeing it pop up in my Facebook. And I thought, and I don't know this person that's doing it, but I thought that's so interesting. I wish my dad was still alive because I thought, who has all of these photos from the early, 20s, 30s, 40s, and just what has changed in downtown. And same here. When you mentioned that book, Bloomington, Then and Now, I remember when that came out thinking how much has changed in the short amount of time I've been here. So.
And it's, as we've talked over and over again, because we've had a lot of shows that have focused on the history of the area, that it is important to kind of keep that connection with the past. And, I always tell the story. I live in a 100-year-old house. And one of the things that was important to me was knowing who the people were who built the house. And a moment that I had at the History Center when I found the marriage record of the people who built my house and discovered that the woman, Laura, she and I share a birthday. And I remember standing in the gift shop of the History Center and like crying because I was like, I'm connected with these people, and I'll go down to the cemetery in Harrodsburg and say hello to them every once in a while. Just mostly so they don't haunt my house. Yeah, for sure. So, all right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the programs in the past to kind of whet your appetite, some of the programs that are coming up, and maybe a little bit of what they wish for growth in the future. So stick around. You are at home in Bloomington.
Hi, this is Karen Rastel with Ruoff Home Mortgage. Did you know we are on the cutting edge of technology when it comes to applying for a mortgage? Loan Butler was created with you in mind. It's a fast, convenient, and secure way to apply online for a mortgage loan. It reduces the amount of paperwork and time for you. Save a tree and contact me today at 812-606-7653 for more details. Ruoff Home Mortgage is an Indiana corporation licensed by the Indiana Department of Financial Institutions. This is not an offer for extension of credit or a commitment to lend. All loans must satisfy company underwriting guidelines, equal housing lender, NMLS number 141868.
This is your Real Estate Realist. Practical advice on buying and selling real estate based on my experience closing over 800 home sales. Raise your hands. How many of you know how a lender comes up with how much house you can afford? We all know they ask for tons of paperwork and documentation, but just how do they come up with the price of a home you can buy? Before I was a realtor a million years ago, I thought it was some factor of your income, like 2 or 3 times your annual income. But I was wrong. So here's the real scoop. First of all, your lender evaluates your debt to income ratio. This is looking at your monthly income before taxes compared to how much debt you currently have. That's things like car payments, credit card payments, student loans, even if they're in deferment or forbearance, and other kinds of revolving debt. Mortgage rules specify the amount of debt you are allowed to carry as a percentage of your income. So some loans allow 35%, some loans allow 45%, but the number varies. A lender looks at the maximum amount of debt you can carry based on your loan type. It subtracts out your current debt, and whatever is left is what is allowable for your monthly mortgage payment. Don't worry, though, your credit score does come into play. Now that your lender has a monthly mortgage payment amount, they work backwards into a purchase price. The better your credit score, the more house you can qualify for, because your credit score determines your interest rate as well as other costs associated with your mortgage. The third thing a lender looks at is how much down payment you have. So that's an important thing to know up front when getting pre-qualified. Down payments can be as little as 0, and down payments can even be gift money, but the more you have, the more house you can afford. Taking all of these things into consideration, a few moments of magic math later, your lender will tell you what you can qualify for. A great lender, like At Home in Bloomington sponsor Karen Rastel of Ruoff Home Mortgage, will take the time to show you the numbers and help you understand the math. For more information on pre-qualifying for a mortgage, check out my Real Estate Today podcast, episode 83. You can find it on iTunes, my YouTube channel, and at www.athomeinbloomington.com.
My name is Brittany, and Deb Tomorrow is my realtor. She helped me buy my first home. I enjoyed working with Deb because she was patient, thorough, and made the experience fun. Deb should be your realtor too. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back to At Home in Bloomington. I'm Realtor Deb Tomorrow. I'm going to throw in my new catchphrase that I haven't been using, but said I was going to use a few episodes ago, which is helping you find your house, but also discovering your home.
Yeah. I'll hold you accountable.
Okay, make me do that. I know. It's a little lengthy, but it says what I wanted to say, and heaven knows I'm never short with words. So we are talking with Mike Carter, who is representing the Monroe County History Club. Before we do that, I want to throw back to episode 33, which is when we had Andrea from the Monroe County History Center, which was fun because she turns out same hometown as Karen. So they had a little hometown reunion. But the History Club is not part of the History Center. I'm sure you probably get mistaken for that a lot.
That happens a lot. And whenever I picked the name for this, they told us to get the room down at the library. Mm-hmm. I had to give it a title. I said, oh my God, I don't know. Yeah. So first I said Bloomington History Club. Yeah. And I thought, no, it's the whole county. So that's how it became Monroe County History Club. Right. But MCHCs are initials, same as the History Center. Right. And people do get confused. Right.
But so even though you're not the same, you do interact a lot.
Oh, definitely.
And so tell us a little bit about that relationship, because I really like that too.
Well, one time, Susan Dyer, the president director, she did a radio interview with me, with Jim Inman, about what's going on. Yeah. So, and then I have her come on there and give little announcements.
Announcements at
public
the beginning.
Service announcements of what's going on.
Yeah.
So we work, closely with the History Center. I'm glad it's that way.
Yeah. One of the things, if you've listened to our other shows, I think almost every nonprofit we've had on here has talked about their relationships with the other nonprofits in the county, and how they all work together. And I love that nobody's really fighting for attention or dollars. That's right. They're all finding a way to work together. And gosh, we could learn a lot from that in the world. But anyways, this is probably not the place for that conversation. So let's remind everyone again. So this is the last Tuesday of each month at the Legion, which is on West 3rd Street. West 3rd. Mm-hmm. And it starts at, what are the times?
Well, I tell people noon, and the person might talk for an hour and a half maybe. But they actually start speaking at 12:30. I get up around 12:15 and make some announcements. Mm-hmm. That takes a few minutes. George, you saw makes a few announcements. Mm-hmm. And then it's right around 12:30. So we tell people to get there, though. Yeah. Before 12 even, if they want to set the spot they want. And it helps them to get their food in a timely manner.
Yeah, if you want to get ordered and get the food.
So they can come whenever they want, but I always try and caution them that the earlier probably the better.
Awesome. Okay. And then check out the Facebook page is the best place to keep track of what's going on.
There actually is a Monroe County History Club Facebook page.
Yeah, so check that out.
Are you a member?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then there's I Remember Bloomington Way Back When. Those are the two main ones.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about some of what's been your favorite. Not to play favorites, because I'm sure you appreciate every speaker you've ever had, which is a lot of them. But, what were some of the really, really memorable speakers?
Well, Derek's first one, which was kind of a Bloomington then and now thing, talking about how all the old buildings were torn down in Bloomington. And by the way, that wasn't recently, where people might think it is. This is a long time ago, 40s and 50s. Oh, to build parking lots.
We can't blame the 70s or 80s for that.
Nope. But he gave a whole program on that, which was actually, it's our second most viewed or third most viewed ever on YouTube. Okay. So that one I've always liked, because I just thought it was right on, just perfect. He did such a good job with it. And for me, since I'm a retired pharmacist, the one I kind of really liked was the one on the Spanish flu epidemic of 1918. Okay. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Well, that killed 75 to 100 million people worldwide.
Worldwide.
This flu was so bad that you might have symptoms now and be dead 24 to 48 hours later.
Oh, my.
From pneumonia.
Yeah.
And you literally drown in fluids. Terrible. And in Monroe County alone in 1918, the guy that gave the program, Dan Combs.
He's a trustee, right?
What's that?
He's a township trustee.
Yes, he's trustee.
Yeah, I know
and
the name.
Also a historian. He's a smart guy. He's given 2 or 3 programs. He discovered, I think it was like 300 people died here in this county. Now, that's a lot, considering there were probably only 12,000 people.
Yeah.
I might be off a little bit.
Yeah.
But that shows the death rate. If you look at the newspapers from those days, it would show 4 people died today. I mean, it was just crazy. So, and a lot of people weren't even aware of that. So I told him, you got to do this program because I want people to know what happened here.
Wow.
All over the country.
Yeah.
It was a bad deal. And it's funny, people, after it was over, people didn't, after the flu went away, which it left just as quickly as it came.
Yeah.
People never really wanted to talk about it. Like a lot of things would happen today. They just were glad it was over.
Yeah.
They had school was suspended.
Yeah.
IU was suspended.
How long did it go on?
You couldn't go to ball games. You couldn't go to movies. They
shut everything down. Yeah. How long did that go on for?
It started in the fall of 1918, around September, October, by the time I got to Bloomington. And it lasted till the first part of 1919. Okay. January, February.
So
like a lot of
3, 4, 5 months.
Yeah. Wow. And the thing about this that interests me too as a pharmacist, this will come back. This will happen again.
Yeah.
It will.
Wow.
And that's a scary thing to think of. It's
even with vaccines and all that good stuff. Interesting.
At some point, who knows when?
Interesting. So one of the things that is really cool is that they try to use visuals as much as possible too. So seeing the old newspaper clippings and hearing how those articles are written is really entertaining. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about how journalism is different?
Well, as far as visuals, we have all kinds of visuals. And that's one of the things with most people, we've only had a couple, maybe one person talk without any visuals. That was Bob Hamill, and he just tells stories.
Yeah, and he's fascinating.
He doesn't really need
visuals. He's the visual, yeah.
Yeah, he's off top of his head.
Yeah.
But in general, I always ask people, did you have a PowerPoint? Because that'd be cool, because we've got a nice big screen, which that screen we donated to
nice.
ourselves.
And it is big, because I was sitting way in the corner and could see it.
And I just think the more things people have to look at, the better it is. So, you mentioned favorite programs. One of the ones we did, Derek and I, and a few other people, Skip, went down to the Herald Times, which used to be the Herald Telephone.
Yep.
We found out their negatives go back only to 1959. That may seem like a long time, but we thought there'd be more. Anyway, they gave us permission to scan those and preserve them.
Oh, wow.
And Derek was good at that, and so were a couple other friends. So for a couple of years, we took it from 1959 to 1969 so far, and then we stopped. But we showed a lot of those visuals at the History Club. We had the permission of the HT to do that. And those are the ones I think the people liked the most. We probably did 3 of those, and one of them was 2 hours long, and people would have stayed longer.
Yeah.
Because it was local photos, and they were identifying.
Yeah.
Because you've seen the crowd.
Yep.
The average age is not 21.
No. A little bit older than me. But
the more visuals, the better, I think.
How interesting. Yeah. But I love that the articles are just sort of written in just a different, how they call things, not politically correct. And the presentation that I went to, Derek was talking about some of the crime, and there was family drama, and there was mental illness, and just the way that they refer to all of that.
In journalism in those days, they told a lot more than they do now.
Yeah. They were very...
If someone died, they would say, so-and-so, a grocer, dropped dead.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be on the front page. I mean, you wouldn't see that now.
But they were also, I think there was something, they were much more graphic.
Oh, definitely.
About, how and when, and body parts being blown apart.
Like an automobile accident, they would tell gruesome details.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's just interesting.
There's no
to see
way
how
they
that's
could
changed.
put that on there.
I also like too, though, that the newspaper, it was like a dual purpose, because I'm sure that they've been probably wanting to get those archived or preserved. Yeah, and so you guys
That's one of the favorite things I've done. And I think Derek will probably get another book out of this.
Yeah. Oh, probably. Now, where do all of those files live now? I mean, where are those scans? Are they at the library or are they
Derek's
house?
Most of them. Derek's got most. Skip has some.
Yeah.
Derek has most of them.
Yeah.
So they're on thumb drives.
Yeah.
So when he comes in and does that, he takes a thumb drive, lets them go. And the thing about those negatives is what people don't realize, we're looking just at negatives.
Yeah.
With a backlight.
Yeah.
So, and there are millions of them. So we have to pick out the ones we think are the most interesting. And you're looking at a negative, and it's hard to identify stuff sometimes. Yeah. There's no captions to anything.
Right.
And all these are in shoebox-like things.
Not even categorized or...
No.
Oh, my goodness.
By date.
By date.
November something, 1959.
Right.
Ironically, the first or second one we looked at, literally, it was in November 59, I think. I told Derek, I said, wait a minute, I think I know that person. And it was my uncle.
Oh, gosh.
It was at the Coke plant, and they were given an award for March of Dimes.
Yeah.
And it was my uncle.
Oh,
right
that's
there.
crazy.
Almost the first one we did.
That's a sign for cool. Sure. That's awesome.
But we'll do more of those. We're going to do that again.
Yeah. So what are some of the shows or events that are coming up? What are some of your topics that are coming up?
Well,
just so we can get people to, if you're listening and the event is already passed, we just want to give you a feel for the vibe of the show, the events.
Yeah, the next one coming up, which may be past the podcast, will be on flour mills. Now, this may not be interesting to everybody. It's one of specialized things about the history of flour mills in Monroe County. It includes spring mills.
Okay.
So David Nord's a real expert on that.
Okay.
Another retired IU professor.
Yeah. Who thought that you grow up to be an expert on flour mills?
Yeah, really.
But
that isn't what he did at college.
Yeah. Oh, it's not.
He's like a lot of people when he retired.
Yeah. Got another interest. One of the things, and I'll let you continue, but I wanted to point this out. I was on the board of Bloomington Restorations for a long time, and one year we had at our annual meeting, we always have a speaker, and one year it was this guy, and they were like, "Well, he's going to talk about this bridge," and I'm like, "Is that really that interesting, right?" And we went and we listened, and this guy had such a passion for what he was doing. Our jaws, everybody in the room, we were just enthralled. And I think when you are listening to someone who is so very passionate, they could be talking about anything, Was
that on covered bridges?
It was on the bridge that they redid in the Gosport area.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it was a gentleman from the highway department. And we were just kind of like, what is this? It just seemed really odd. And it's probably been 10 or 12 years later. And my friend Devin and I still talk about the bridge guy. We're it was amazing. It was the best.
Programs you think aren't interesting.
Yeah, they really are. So what else do you have coming up?
Duncan Campbell, another great local historian, is going to talk about the local architect, John Nichols.
Okay.
You may or may not know who he was, but he's responsible for probably 100 houses in this town, built in the early part of the century, early part of 20th century, 1900. And Derek has a lot of his things in his then and now book.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Duncan's a great speaker, yeah.
Duncan comes up with some great stuff. Yeah. And then we're going to have a World War II vet on here. This fellow's 94, 95 years old, but he's real good shape. Yeah. James Lee Hutchison, he lives down in Bedford. He flew on B-17s.
Oh, wow.
And he's going to talk about his experience doing bomber rigs in Europe. I'm looking forward to that.
Wow. And I'm sure that would, if you've got a World War II buff or a military history buff, I can see that program being really large with a lot of people.
It'll be fascinating, especially in a place like a Legion.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure they know all about it.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Jake Butler, another IU professor, is going to talk about, this is really fascinating too, history of transportation in Monroe County. He's going to cover Native and early American, early settler paths, water transport, the county's first roads, horse-drawn travel, the rise and fall of the railroad, the advent of the automobile, and the improved road network. I can't imagine what would go into researching all that.
Right.
That, and as you were listing those things in my mind, I'm picturing my visual would be, this is the trails or whatever. And then there'd be the next, overlay of the next thing.
Right.
And this guy's good. Yeah. And this is his third time he's talked about it. He's really good.
Oh my gosh, that's where such and such is right now. And that used to be, So.
Well, I love it.
He's involved with Butler Winery. So
okay.
He's one of the guys over there.
Yeah.
I live on Old 37 South, which is Old Dixie Highway.
Yeah.
And at one point it was New 37 and then became Old 37. And there's a lot of history down in that area. My property was called the Duck Inn. At one point in time, it was a travel stop. And it was a roadhouse kind of thing. And there are, did you know this, Karen?
No, you always have the wildest story.
I should have heard of that.
They've written about it in the paper twice, years ago. Carol Krause wrote,
Carol
12,
Krause.
yeah, wrote about 12 years ago. And then the previous owners, they wrote about it too. But there were travelers' cottages dotted across the property. I have 5 acres now, but it used to be much larger. And my neighbor still has one of the limestone cottages with a barrel roof that you can see in his pasture, which is right next to my property. All the ones on my property have fallen down. So there's these piles of limestone dotted, sort of equidistant across the back of the property. And then at the end where I have the stable, we call it the stable, that was 3 travelers' cottages.
Oh.
And there's all kinds of stories, that, I keep trying to dig up about that. But anyways, I found one time that talked about, I'm getting back to the transportation, that there was a newspaper article and it was talking about like every male in the county had to sort of donate a certain amount of hours towards building the highway. It was, and so they were sort of like listing, like, this is the section we're going to be working on, and these are the people that need to come and help do this, because the Dixie Highway was really important connecting with Louisville. And so, it's just
downtown when they first had stone gravel roads downtown before it was paved even. The business owners downtown had to come out and they would dump the rock, and they had to crush up the rock themselves to build that road.
It's just interesting how, I think it was similar to that. So really fascinating. So where do you want the History Club to go? What are there any grand future plans? Just kind of keep on keeping on?
At first, I didn't know even what we were about, but the head of Catch TV, or one of the heads of Catch TV, came to me one time and said, the programs you do for us are the most interesting we do. Nobody does it. And he said, you should be aware that you're preserving local history.
Yeah.
I said, I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
But I want this stuff to be around for, so we've done 50 shows. I hope if I'm around 6 more years, we'll do 50 more.
Yeah.
But I want this to be around for people down the road because it's living, breathing history given by experts. And each program is sort of like a course at IU in history or something, or whatnot.
Yeah.
And just important to keep it going for the community, I think.
Yeah.
And like I say, that wasn't the goal at the beginning, but it is now.
I love it. Well, I want to encourage everyone to check it out. Again, free. So best deal in
free stuff.
Best deal in Monroe County. Tell your husband, Karen.
I will.
And especially as a history buff. So last Tuesday of each month, program starts around 12:15, but get there a little bit before that at the American Legion on West 3rd Street. But make sure you're following Monroe County History Club on Facebook. Because that will also talk about if they've got other programs going on. And
And keep in mind, these are, like I said, over 50 of them on YouTube.
Yeah.
All you have to do is get on YouTube and the search engine, put Monroe County History Club, and it'll come up. And they can just go down and pick the programs
Make
they
sure
want.
to subscribe to those. How quickly, so those are, those get uploaded immediately after
Pretty
a meeting?
quick.
Within a week, I think.
Cats, used to it took longer, but now that Cats records it.
Yeah.
And I start bugging them about 2 days later. I have to go down and fill out a little request thing. Which is formality.
Yeah.
And then I always say, hey, can I get this by Friday? And the programs are always Tuesday. And I'll say, and sometimes I'll get them Friday.
Yeah.
Usually by a week, though, anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty
and then I upload them. I figured out how to finally upload stuff
Good
to
job.
YouTube. George is the one that used to do that.
Oh, okay.
And then I figured it out. So
if you can figure out YouTube, then you can definitely figure out how to do a podcast. So we'll have to talk about how to get you doing a podcast. That's another great way to memorialize and record that information.
What surprised me was the number of people I found out all over the country that used to live here that watch those YouTubes.
Yeah.
And that's gratifying, too.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, wonderful work. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And I hope people will check it out. We will be back with another episode. You are at home in Bloomington.
Got a show idea? I'd love to hear it. And be sure to contact me for all your real estate needs and questions too. You can email me at deb at realrealestatetoday.com. And follow me on Facebook at Deb Tomorrow Realtor. To contact Karen Rastel for all your mortgage needs, call 812-606-7653 or log on to ruoff.com and go to the Bloomington Center. Thanks to all the Bloomington people who make production of At Home in Bloomington possible. Digital guru Cynthia Hogan at Monster Digital Marketing for website design and hosting, and video genius Wes Lasher in the production house for engineering the show.